forth for yourself on this day. May those goals come to fruition. So today is Tuesday. It's a gloomy day, but at the same time, our light shines bright. So every day is a beautiful day. So I want to get into it. I'm going to take us now into uncharted territory. I'm going to explain to those who come in and check this out, this channel, the mindset of the people that are around. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to sit back and say things off at the top of your head, but we're going to go in depth to understand that this is a program. This is a program, so everybody's using it to their own advantage. And this is a word that most people, throughout social media, a word that I rarely hear, but it's really, really important. And the reason most people don't use this word is because it directly involves themselves, because we all possess this attribute. So if you're watching this, then you'll understand what I mean by this. So today's topic is entitled, it's part of a maybe 4, maybe 5-part series. So I'm going to explain different parts of what makes the people around you the way that they are, and how outside influence impacts how people interact with you. And by knowing this, excuse me, by knowing this, you'll be able to better navigate your way through life. So today's part 1 of a 5-part series. It's entitled Indiscriminate Bias. And that's the word that most people don't speak about, indiscriminate bias. And part 1 is B.T.S.S, which is because they said so. And this is a syndrome that we're living in right now. And this syndrome, because they said so, is based on opinions and not facts. So we're going to discuss the causes and effects of indiscriminate bias. So, and how it affects your life as well. So, in order to understand what indiscriminate bias is, we need to understand what that word means. Indiscriminate bias is a person who is unable to define or distinct situations. Therefore, an individual awaiting to be directed or told what to think. So that's what an indiscriminate bias is. And I'm going to put it into you a simpler form. Indiscriminate bias is a person who lives next door, and they put the trash right next to where your flower bed is, but that's where their trash goes normally. So what you do is you have a pet peeve. You're like, I put this flower garden there, therefore maybe they should have enough courtesy to move their trash a little farther away, so it wouldn't affect the flower bed that I have over there, or you, or whoever. So that doesn't happen, but that's your pet peeve, and it brings you out of yourself that you might go and tell another person, hey, that person should really move their trash, and the next person, that person should really move their trash. But yet and still, you have a tree in your backyard that literally hangs over into their backyard, and it drops rotten fruit every year, and they have to clean that up, but yet and still they say nothing to you. That's indiscriminate bias. And this is, now we have to understand that this is taking us into what it is that we condone. So like I said, go back to prior videos. The playlist is completely up. There's almost 300 videos, but they have to do with things that have to do with life, and also things that if you date them, they speak about events that happened way prior than what they're happening in now. So this is what coming into consciousness will do to you, and as well as for you. So let's talk about some of the causes of why indiscriminate bias takes place. And I want to put it to you like this. There was a time that we can all relate to, because it was a time during the Bill Clinton era, and the housing market, everything was crashing. Everything was crashing. But yet still they were given hope, like, hey, this is happening. We just diverted money from here to here to here to here. No matter how many times they diverted money, and they were telling you that everything was beautiful, people lost their homes. They lost their livelihoods, and that's risk. And I'm going to explain that risk and what separates the wealthy from the poor. But another area where they said to us that things were okay, and things weren't actually, they weren't okay, which was the environment. They screamed everything was good with the environment, everything was good, and in actuality, this is what we're in right now. Storms are magnified, Hurricanes are magnified, tornadoes are dropping where they never dropped before, fires are burning all around the world. And we're talking about gun control, and we're talking about the neighbor putting trash next to the flower bed. Or we're talking about the Ukraine war. Instead of, focusing on the fact that we may not have a home to live in, in the years to come. And this is indiscriminate bias again, because it affects us all, but we're minimized again to think in our own little bubble, so that the neighbor's trash is more important than, banks and, people in power just stealing everybody's money while we're looking at one another. This is indiscriminate bias. It's what we condone, and why we have to, stop following the rule, which goes back to, what's in parentheses, because they said so. We have to stop living like that, and instead of running fast. Another way, we talked about it in a prior video, where, they're speeding up your biological clocks, and we're doing nothing about it. And, they've done studies, because when a family can work a 5-day work week, or even a 4-day work week with Saturday and Sunday off, they have a greater chance of their family surviving. But yet still no one talks about it. Again, indiscriminate behavior, because we're seeking money. We don't care what we have to do, how we have to do it in order to get it. And our family, our values, our morals, we put back to the side. So again, this is what separates the powerful from the poor and the average. The risk that they're willing to take. See, what makes them elite is because they'll risk a whole village's money. They'll risk a whole city's money. They'll risk a whole nation's money to bet on themselves. And if they lose, they could care less about anyone that lost out. They'll just look for another group. So, we're finding this role played out in the people that are around us, just on a smaller scale. I want to read something to you, because what I just said to you, every man, woman, and child does this. However, again, what makes the difference between wealth and poverty is how shallow, how petty, and how deceitful a person is willing to become. So again, there's a risk factor, because we've seen so many times in the news where, these people get divorced and they're in these relationships, and when the person says, I had enough, the other person wants that other person whacked off. But yet still, a businessman, like we talked before, he'll take all of his clients' money and roll the dice, and doesn't care if they lose their money or not, and keep on going. There's no difference in the two. Again, by us not realizing that we're being indiscriminate, meaning that it's another way of saying hypocritical. The world can't change. Nothing can change. Not even you can change who you are. And the way that we change is we understand that we are ourselves indiscriminately biased. But do we use the indiscriminate bias for a positive way, or do we use it for a negative way? And again, these videos are for all people, all races, and all colors, because we're all being played against one another. And we have to realize that at some point, because, if I ask someone what they believed in, I would ask them also, is what they believe in, is he perfect? He, she, or invisible, is that entity perfect? So if a perfect being can't create something that is wasteful, it just doesn't happen. So that, to me, that eliminates, race or anything like that. We all have a purpose here. We're all being played against one another, but we always have to wake up to new things that we learn about ourselves in order to turn around, so that we can pass on to others. So that, by walking away, it doesn't mean you walk away from a person forever. It's allowing a person to come to say, hey, look. And that's where, change comes in. But it doesn't mean that you let your defenses down either. Because remember, we have light. And these people who have to realize that they have to make apologies, or, they have to do something different, or, what have you, they're coming out of darkness. And, they have to bring themselves into light. And one person can't do that. And that one apology or one interaction with you can't do that. So that's why I say it's okay to walk away, because your vibration is so high, you'll feel the genuine light coming from an individual, because we have the ability to feel that light coming from others. So these are some of the causes and effects of what because they said so syndrome takes. It allows us to add our pain, our grief, our suffering, our hate, our envy, our jealousy onto others to create more negative energy. So, even though we ourselves might not be saying anything negative into the group that's negative, we're still lending our energy. And that's that indiscriminate bias. And this is why we stress so much on condone. So this is that part one, because they said so. Look at things that, people in higher places have said to us, about climate, about, working all different kinds of crazy hours taken away from your families. That's good, but was it really, really good when we look at the figures to say, the divorce rate is at record highs, the length of relationships are at record highs as being little or nothing, infidelity is at, all the records were shattered. We're not going to go through that. But, just think about it. And we have to realize that none of these situations are getting any better. We're going to continue to break and shatter these records, and they're all for the negative. But that doesn't mean that negative energy has to be in you. So this is your way and our way of continuing to educate ourselves so that we can maintain our light. So with that, everyone have the most beautiful day. Have the best day. Stay tuned for part 2, which is coming up within soon. Have a great day, and be blessed in every way. And thank the Most High for the light that we have, because love is fading, caring is fading, loyalty is fading, trust is fading. And with that, everyone, we trust, we love, but we're also strong. And with that, everyone, have a beautiful day. Peace.